This training is intended for summer food service program sponsors that are planning to contract with a food service management company. This training session will discuss the definitions of a food service management company as defined in 7 CFR 225-2 and the sponsor responsibilities for ensuring that its food service operation is in conformity with its agreement with the state agency and with all applicable provisions outlined in 7 CFR 225-15M. Food service management company means any commercial enterprise or nonprofit organization with which a sponsor may contract for preparing unitized meals with or without milk for use in the program, or for managing a sponsor's food service operations in accordance with the limitations set forth in 7 CFR 225-15. Food service management companies may be public agencies or entities, private nonprofit organizations, or private for-profit companies. Failure by a sponsor to comply with the provisions outlined in 7 CFR 225-15M shall be sufficient grounds for the state agency to terminate that sponsor's participation in accordance with 7 CFR 225-18B2. Any sponsor may contract with a food service management company to manage the sponsor's food service operations and/or for the preparation of unitized meals with or without milk or juice. Exceptions to the unitizing requirement may only be made in accordance with the provisions set forth at 7 CFR 225-6H3. 7 CFR 225-6H3 states, "These requests shall be submitted to the state agency in writing in sufficient time for the state agency to respond prior to the sponsor's advertising for bids. The state agency shall notify the sponsors in writing of its determination in a timely manner." Any vended sponsor shall be responsible for ensuring that its food service operations is in conformity with its agreement with the state agency and with all the applicable provisions outlined in 7 CFR 225-15M. In addition to any applicable state or local laws governing bid procedures, and with the exceptions identified in 7 CFR 225-15M4, each sponsor which contracts with a food service management company shall comply with the competitive bid procedures described in 7 CFR 225-15M4. The sponsors that are schools or school food authorities and have an exclusive contract with the food service management company for year-round service, and sponsors whose total contracts with a food service management company will not exceed the simplified acquisition threshold of $150,000 as outlined in the Oregon Revised Statutes as applicable, shall not be required to comply with these procedures. These exceptions do not relieve the sponsor of the responsibility to ensure that competitive procurement procedures are followed in contracting with any food service management company. Each sponsor whose proposed contract is subject to the specific bid procedures set forth in this paragraph shall ensure that at a minimum, all proposed contracts are publicly announced at least once, not less than 14 calendar days prior to the opening of bids, and the announcement includes the time and place of the bid opening. The bids are publicly opened. The state agency is notified at least 14 calendar days prior to the opening of the bids of the time and place of the bid opening. The invitation to bid does not specify a minimum price. The invitation to bid contains a cycle menu approved by the state agency upon which the bid is based. The invitation to bid contains food specifications and meal quality standards approved by the state agency upon which the bid is based. The invitation to bid does not specify special meal requirements to meet ethnic or religious needs unless special requirements are necessary to meet the needs of the children to be served. Neither the invitation to bid nor the contract provides for loans or any other monetary benefit or term or condition to be made to sponsors by food service management companies. Non-food items are excluded from the invitation to bid, except for where such items are essential to the conduct of the food service. Copies of all contracts between sponsors and food service management companies, along with the certification of independent price determination, are submitted to the state agency prior to the beginning of program operations. Copies of all bids received are submitted to the state agency along with the sponsor's reason for choosing the successful bidder, and all bids in an amount which exceeds the lowest bid and all bids totaling $150,000 or more are submitted to the state agency for approval before acceptance. State agencies shall respond to a request for approval of such bids within 5 working days of receipt. Program sponsors must still follow the applicable procurement standards outlined in 2 CFR 200-318 through 2 CFR 200-327 for contracts totaling less than $150,000. Each state agency shall develop a standard form of contract for use by sponsors in contracting with food service management companies that include all requirements identified in 7 CFR 225-6H2. A sponsor must use the state agency vended meal agreement when contracting with the food service management company and the state agency intergovernmental agreement when receiving vended meals from a school food authority. Program sponsors must ensure that a state agency representative is present at all food service management company procurement bid openings when sponsors are expected to receive more than $250,000 in program payments. All bids in an amount which exceeds the lowest bid shall be submitted to the state agency for approval before acceptance. All bids totaling $250,000 or more shall be submitted to the state agency for approval before acceptance. State agencies shall respond to a request for approval of bids within 5 working days of receipt. A bid bond, which serves to protect the sponsor, is issued as a part of the bidding process as a surety to the sponsor that the food service management company will execute the contract as awarded. The bid bond is subject to full or partial forfeiture if the awarded contractor fails to execute the contract or provide the required performance bonds. Program regulations currently require food service management companies that submit a bid over $250,000 to submit a bid bond in accordance with 7 CFR 225-15M5. A performance bond, which serves to protect the sponsor, is a surety bond issued by an insurance company or a bank to guarantee satisfactory completion of a contract. Currently, program regulations require food service management companies and sponsors entered into one or more contracts totaling over $250,000 to obtain a performance bond. A sponsor shall obtain a performance bond in an amount not less than 10% nor more than 25% of the value of the contract or which the bid is made, as determined by the state agency. Food service management companies shall obtain bid bonds and performance bonds only from surety companies listed in the current Department of the Treasury Circular 570. No sponsor or state agency shall allow food service management companies to post any alternative forms of a bid or performance bonds, including but not limited to cash, certified checks, letters for credit, or escrow accounts. Sponsors shall require the food service management company to furnish a copy of the performance bond within 10 days of awarding the contract. Copies of all contracts between sponsors and food service management companies, along with a certification of independent price determination, shall be submitted to the state agency prior to the beginning of the program operations. Sponsors shall also submit to the state agency copies of all bids received and the reason for selecting the food service management company chosen. If you have any questions about the content of this training, please contact Richard Williams at richard.williams@ode.state.or.us. The ODE CNP team is committed to ensuring that our sponsors are supported. Our child nutrition specialists work to offer the greatest flexibilities possible while still maintaining the requirements and regulations of the federal programs that we administer. Our goal is to administer and provide leadership and assistance to sponsors of our programs so that you may continue to support those that you serve and feel confident doing so. This is the USDA non-discrimination statement. This concludes the SFSP Food Service Management Company training. Thank you for all that you do to fuel Oregon's future.